Welcome, fellow castigators. It's time once again for me to break down another superb Who special just for you. This time is The Giggle, featuring the long-awaited return of the celestial toy maker. The tale begins in Soho, 1925, where a man walks into a toy shop run by Neil Patrick Harris, who is doing a German accent for reasons never explained to the audience. The man purchases a doll that the toy maker says he made with real hair from a woman. The customer is suspicious of the toy maker and notes that his German accent slips, but despite this reveals to the toy maker that he is the assistant of John Logie Baird, who is inventing something called television. The man leaves and uses a Nipkow disc to scan Stooky Bill. Poor old Bill catches fire and laughs in the toy maker's voice. After the theme song, we're back to the Doctor and Donna on the streets of London, where everyone is acting like animals. A man jumps in front of a truck and says that he has a right to stand in the road because he's a taxpayer. The Doctor tries to get him to safety, but the man just keeps emphasizing the word right. So I think we know what Russell T Davies is trying to say here. The toy maker dances in the middle of the street with the Doctor and even creepily waves at him, but this isn't suspicious enough to get the Doctor's attention. Next unit arrives in helicopters and takes away Wilfred Mott, as Bernard Cribbins was unfortunately unable to finish his scenes for the special. Next unit ferries the TARDIS, Doctor, and Donna to Stark Tower. Unit HQ. Kate Lethbridge-Stewart is there, and she doesn't get much to do this episode, but it was nice to include her. Also returning is Melanie Bush, of all people. Last we saw her, she left the TARDIS to explore space with Sabalom Glitz. She's working for UNIT now, doing an unspecified job, and tells the Doctor that Glitz died at the age of 101 and received a Viking funeral. I appreciate the respect, since Glitz is one of my favorite characters. But I have to ask, if he lived to 101, then how old is Mel? If Glitz was in his 40s and Mel in her 20s, that would mean that Mel and Glitz traveled together for around 60 years until his death at 101. That would mean Mel would be at least in her 80s now, maybe more depending on how long it took her to make it back to Earth. I have to say, Mel is looking pretty good for a woman in her 80s, seeing as Bonnie Langford is only 59 years old. But that's way beside the point. After Donna asks Agent Shirley if it's offensive to use the word park, Kate Lethbridge-Stewart shows them an armband called a Z-Dex that keeps the brainwaves calm, which is why none of the unit personnel are going mad. The Z-Dex, named because it sounds good, was invented by the Vlinks, a robot creature that has its guts and wiring spilling out. We're never explained who or what the Vlinks is, because it's time for more political messaging. Kate Lethbridge-Stewart demonstrates the Z-Dex by taking it off, and she momentarily turns into a raging conspiracy theorist who is mildly racist and ableist. Then they see the American news anchor from the previous series, Trinity Wells, broadcasting that she is anti-Z-Dex and that the device will be used to control people. She's framed as a crackpot, but in a way she's actually not far off. Not to mention, this whole allegory is less subtle than an atomic bomb. The team tries to analyze the brain patterns from the crazy people, and Donna notices the patterns looks like musical notes. It turns out not to be notes, but the toy maker's laugh and the image of Stooky Bill. The Doctor says that the image of Stooky Bill has been passed through every type of screen since 1925, and is now inside television itself. So how does that work? Was Stooky Bill inside the wires that passed between rooms in John Baird's office? Was Bill inside the cathode ray tubes of actual television sets? Or was he somehow in the radio waves sent from TV stations? And if so, how did he pass from station to station and get to all screens? Does Russell T Davies think we had satellite television back then? And how did the laugh get through if John Baird wasn't recording sound? Regardless, UNIT begins activating something called the galvanic beam, which they will use to shoot down satellites. The Doctor and Donna head to 1925, where the Doctor said he's over 1 billion years old. Peter Capaldi's Doctor states that he's around 2 million years old, so I guess Jodie Whittaker's Doctor was around for forever. Donna brings up seeing into his mind again and says that she thinks he's getting burnt out and needs a break. The Doctor changes the subject and leads them into the toy shop on a hunch. The toy maker begins juggling and says that Donna has the balls in the relationship. The Doctor finally recognizes the toy maker and gets challenged to a game of hide-and-go-seek. The Doctor and Donna chase him into an endless hallway, inadvertently entering the toy maker's domain. As they Scooby-Doo along the corridors, the Doctor describes his last meeting with the toy maker that resulted in the bodily destruction of the toy maker, along with the realm he created. The toy maker's mind, however, as the first Doctor explained, lives on. The current Doctor says that he unleashed the toy maker when he did the salt thing in Wild Blue Yonder by playing a game at the end of the universe. This has to be the thinnest way to bring back an old villain in all of Doctor Who, which is saying something since they never explained how the John Sims Master survived the events of the End of Time special. So were the Doctor and Donna at the end of the universe in 1925? And if so, wouldn't the toy maker have gotten caught in the spaceship explosion? Or did he rematerialize wherever he was before? And how did he get to Earth? In the original serial, The Celestial Toy Maker, he is trying to win the TARDIS from the Doctor because it would allow him more maneuverability. That means that the toy maker can't time travel, and he probably can't space travel either. Anyway, Donna implies that the Doctor is having a midlife crisis, and then they get separated between locked doors. The Doctor finds John Baird's assistant wrapped up and sets him free. The toy maker has turned him into a wooden marionette, which he uses to taunt the Doctor. This is probably the single scene that is most faithful to the original story. Donna finds a Stooky Sue doll and is descended upon by Sue's creepy plaster babies. Donna lets out her inner Barbara Wright and smashes Stooky Sue against a wall before successfully reuniting with the Doctor. The toy maker is kind enough to put on a puppet show for them, which chronicles the deaths of the Doctor's companions since Donna. He covers Amy, Clara, and Bill, but leaves out Rory, River, and Nardole. Lastly, he brings up the Flux, which the majority of the audience forgot about, and then the Doctor challenges him to a game. The toy maker returns to his original English accent as he deals out the playing cards. He reveals that the last person he played was the Master, who he has since trapped in his gold tooth, which is a pretty weak way of telling us what a threat the toy maker is. However, the toy maker says he doesn't dare play the one who waits, the identity of whom he refuses to disclose. The Doctor asks him what he's done to the human race, to which the toy maker says he made every opinion supreme. He says that the Earth is the ultimate game because they shout, they type, and they cancel. Which is more of RTD's idea of subtlety, no doubt. I don't know if this is the time to mention it, but Neil Patrick Harris's wig line is very visible, and he has makeup all over his collar. And also, if they were going to give him a wig, why didn't they give him dark hair to look more like the original toy maker? Anyway, the toy maker wins the game, and the Doctor points out that he's beaten him before, and now they're even. Therefore, they must play one more game to make best out of 3. Except, in the original serial, it is made clear that they have met before, and the Doctor has defeated him once already, albeit off-screen. This means that the Doctor has already won the best out of 3, regardless of the next game's winner. Oh well, I didn't really expect RTD to have seen it. The toy maker accepts the challenge and whisks himself away to 2023. So why was 2023 the activation date for the Stooky Bill subliminal messaging? Did the toy maker somehow know that was when the Doctor would be there? Or did he just get lucky? And how come the Doctor has managed to avoid running into him in all this time? What was the toy maker doing for 98 years? Anyway, the Doctor and Donna return to Unit Tower, where Unit uses the galvanic beam to explode a satellite broadcasting to Britain. Kate acknowledges that this is just one piece of the puzzle, and that there are many more to take down. Wait till she finds out there are over 7,000 satellites in orbit around the Earth. The Doctor warns them that the toy maker is coming, and he can jump the 98 years like stepping through a door, which contradicts the toy maker's need for the TARDIS in the original story. He then tries to explain the existence of the toy maker by saying that the universe is non-binary, because there is chaos and there is order, but the two collide. The toy maker is a chaotic being that has to play by the rules of the games. That's still ultimately a binary system, but whatever. The toy maker appears with a wooden box and dances around the room to Spice Up Your Life by the Spice Girls, turning unit soldiers into balloons along the way. I'm getting serious PTSD from the Master's Rasputin sequence.
No. Wait.
The toy maker leaves at the end of the song, so I'm not sure what the point of that was, but the Doctor says he's still in the building and needs to be searched for. Shirley wants to know how the toy maker has those powers, and the Doctor asks Shirley if he told her that he uses his mind to rearrange atoms. Would she believe him? Shirley asks if he does, and the Doctor says no. Except that's not far off. The original lore is that the toy maker has the psychic ability to make illusions with his mind, and the worlds he creates are filled with both tangible and intangible objects. According to various books and audio dramas, his original purpose was likely that he was one of the guardians of time. Nevertheless, the toy maker is in the most obvious place, manning the controls of the galvanic beam, which rather comically has a gunner seat. The Doctor offers the toy maker the chance to travel with him and use his powers for good, but the toy maker says that the Earth is the ultimate playground. He does a fair bit of preaching before shooting the Doctor with the galvanic beam. Donna and Mel hold the Doctor's hands, despite the usual danger of being close to someone regenerating. Mel says, "Every one of you is fantastic." Well, almost everyone. Next, in an absolutely baffling turn of events, Mel physically drags Shudigawa out of David Tennant as they split apart. The Doctor says that he has bi-generated and that it's supposed to be a myth. Get it? Because the Doctor is bi? Anywho, the pair are wearing different parts of the costume, so Shooty is disturbingly not wearing trousers for the remainder of the episode. And because Russell can't just let people exist, he goes out of his way to point out that Shooty is black, having Donna ask the Doctor if he comes in a variety of colors. Before the toy maker can shoot them both, the Doctors challenge the toy maker to a game. They choose to play catch, which isn't very strategic, and the toy maker eventually loses after fumbling the ball. Tennant says he gets a prize and chooses to banish the toy maker from this universe. Don't know why he didn't do that the previous 2 times he defeated him. The old Doctor is worried about all the people that still need to be saved from the toy maker's meddling, and Shooty says, "You can't save everyone. I got you," and then kisses him on the forehead. The gold tooth with the Master is picked up by Kate, but for some reason they deliberately tried to hide who took it. Tennant shows Gatwa around the TARDIS console, because I guess they didn't have all the same memories, and Tennant asks what happens next, as bi-generation has never happened before. Which is it? A myth that has possibly occurred, or a scientific theory that hasn't actually been observed? Gatwa responds by telling him that he's running on fumes and needs rehab. Donna says that he needs to live on Earth and live day by day because he's never done that before. Except he has. For 3 seasons straight, in fact. Also, let's not forget however long he thought he was human in the Family of Blood two-parter, or the 12th Doctor working as a professor in Series 10. Donna says that the reason his face came back is so that he could come home. Gatwa agrees and states that he doesn't have the Doctor's pain, so he can save the universe while the other Doctor goes to therapy. The Doctor is reluctant to leave the TARDIS, so Ncuti takes out a big wooden mallet and hits the exterior of the TARDIS, which duplicates itself. This is sort of explained by a throwaway line about using lingering remnants of the Toymaker's power. The Doctor finds that the wood lining under the door now has a flip-down ramp for wheelchair accessibility. Shirley exclaims, "You've finally caught up with the 21st century," which I'm guessing is what Russell T Davies feels about the whole special. Tennant slowly enters the duplicated TARDIS, and I was expecting something sentimental like his old console room, which the BBC still has in storage, but it turns out the duplicate is the other Doctor's TARDIS, which has no differences except a jukebox next to the console. The Doctors hug it out, and the Disney Plus subtitles correctly identify David Tennant as the 10th Doctor. The new Doctor abruptly departs, and then we witness a noble temple dinner party where they make sure to tell us that Rose is vegan. The old Doctor tells an expanded version of the eyebrow alien story from Spearhead from Space, when Donna chides him for taking sneaky trips in the TARDIS. It's implied that the Doctor has been traveling with Mel and Rose on occasion. Finally, we see Ncuti Gatwa running around the console, and Murray Gold finally gets a chance to shine before the special is over. Seriously, in these 3 specials, Murray Gold has not gotten to do much at all. I think if they really wanted to layer on the nostalgia, they should have done more of the old themes. Speaking of old themes, the Toymaker could have been really great if done properly. I mean, acting-wise, Neil Patrick Harris is fine, but I think it should have been less whimsical and more like Michael Gough. The original story of the Toymaker capturing people and forcing them to play games before mangling them into one of his horrible toys is quite terrifying, but RTD chooses to play into it in only one brief scene. I mean, he's basically the Jigsaw of the Doctor Who universe. The Toymaker could have continued to be an incredibly creepy and twisted villain, but he's just wasted here, being silly and flamboyant. They should have just introduced a new master instead of squandering their opportunity with the Toymaker. Overall, the writing of this episode is pretty weak. Just like with the last 2 specials, it refuses to explain any science fiction elements, and the Doctor doesn't get to save the day, he just gets lucky. It's safe to assume that this kind of laziness will be the hallmark of Russell T Davies' new series. Old fans will be turned away by these specials, and I can't imagine they'll bring in any new fans. These specials are confusing and incongruous enough even when you know the history. As for the bi-generation, it's clearly so that RTD can excuse any big changes he makes to the show by having a Doctor who both is and isn't the Doctor. I know there are those of you who will say it's because he wanted to give Tennant more of a happy ending, but you can mark my words when I say that we'll see major tweaks to the character in the future, with even some TARDIS personality changes, if I may be so bold as to make the prediction. Either way, the bi-generation is just overly convenient. RTD doesn't care how to explain how it works, and the mechanic will inevitably cause problems eventually. At least with the human Doctor that stayed with Rose, there was a grain of sense in there. But actually, I'm fine with this decision. Thanks to Russell creating this quasi-Doctor, I can finally finish mourning the real one. Watching the Doctor's weird clone son gallivanting off into the blue, I felt strangely detached. And it was nice. Look, I know the Doctor Who died a long time ago. I know that the Doctor died sacrificing himself to defeat the Cybermen on the colony ship, a proper hero's death. But even as I watched him regenerate into a woman who was uncommitted to playing the role with reverence for predecessors, There was still a part of me deep down that had hope that the show could be turned around. I know now that hope was in vain. We've had a good run with the old doctor. For an alien, he sure taught us a lot about what it means to be human. He taught us a creed to live by. Never cruel nor cowardly. Never give up. Never give in. Through the years, he was a comfort to those who couldn't conform, to those who couldn't fight back, and to those who'd lost a friend. He was someone who was flawed, yet worth emulating. Most of all, his message was to be kind. Just kind. Doctor, I could never let you go. But I guess it's only proper to say, goodbye, Doctor Who. It's the end, but the moment has been prepared for. Where there's life, there's hope.